Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. Before I start, I just wanted to let you know that there was a cancellation on the following section, the Inspiring Youngsters to Become Drupal Evangelists. So my session is still going to be around 20 minutes, but the next session will not happen, which will give us some time for Q&A in the end of my session. So my session today is being open about being human, and thank you for joining. The goal is really to start a conversation about mental health and share some of my own experiences dealing with depression and anxiety. I will share information about the conditions and also show some ways that can be used to manage the impact they have. And finally, I'll share information about mental health in the workplace and how it affects not only employees, but also the companies they work for. And I'll give some examples of what companies are doing today to create healthier work environments. Sophie is in the call and she will be paying attention to the chat. So if you have any questions during the session, you can enter in the chat and we'll try to get to them in the end of the session. Or you can also come and visit me at our booth at 1X Internet. We're sponsoring the event, so we have a booth. So if you want to come and talk in the booth, that's fine. Or I'll also have my contact information in the end of the slides if you want to reach out and have a private conversation. So before we start, I just wanted to make clear that I am not a doctor, so I am sharing information based on research I've done for the last 2.5 years on the topic and also my own experiences. But really, if you're struggling, I always recommend you talk to your doctor or a specialist. So I wanted to start by really saying who am I, and that's more like the happy social media version to get started. I was born and I grew up in the south of Brazil. It wasn't a big city for Brazilian standards, and had a comfortable childhood with access to services and good schools, middle class family. According to my parents, I was happy child and always liked playing sports and I was very competitive. I played many different sports, mostly football and in Brazil, of course, and volleyball, which is actually the second most played sport in Brazil. And in my teenage years, I started writing poetry, and I actually published a book, co-published a book in the late 1990s. I was still in high school. And then I graduated in computer science, university in Brazil, and then did an MBA in project management right after. And then got married. I actually met my wife while I was doing architecture. I started before computer science, but realized it was not for me. So I dropped out and started computer science, but at least I got to meet her. And in 2007, we decided to move to Canada. So we moved to Ottawa. We didn't know anybody in Ottawa or had jobs. We just felt it was like we were just starting our careers, and we thought it was okay for us to take that risk. And there I started working for a company, a professional services company, and that was implementing e-commerce solutions for customers in North America. And I worked there for over 10 years. And I started as a software developer and a Java developer, actually. We then bought our first house in Canada and decided to grow our family. In 2011, our first child was born, Alice, our daughter. And then in 2014, on Christmas Day, actually, our second was born, Diana. And then in 2018, we had our third child, our son, Arthur, was born. Then things were going well, and we had a comfortable life with good job, but opportunity came to move to Germany. And as a family, we discussed that was something that we wanted to do. And even though there were, of course, risks on giving everything up and moving, we decided to go for it. We also like as a family to travel, and we thought being the center of Europe would allow us to visit some places that maybe we would not if you were living in Canada. So, and the kids are still young, so we decided to take our chances. And so we moved from Ottawa to Frankfurt. And then I started working with 1X Internet, working with Drupal. So I started in the end of 2019 working with Drupal and really enjoy. And now we live in Frankfurt for a little over a year in the Taunus region. So why do I share this? Is because I want, this is how people see from the outside. And if you ask a lot of people, they'll say that I was normally happy, that things were going well, and that's what they saw. But how did I actually feel? And that's a little bit of a different story. And I think those pictures actually represent how I feel a little bit better. To be honest, I erased a lot of my childhood from my memory. I don't remember a lot that happened before I was 15 years old. I do remember some more traumatic experiences, but not much, and definitely not details of anything. I was, let's say, I had a low self-esteem. I didn't really like how I looked. The poems that I wrote were mostly about suicide, about being alone, and either or the end of the world. I think they were good poems, but catastrophic in nature. I always feared public speaking, and I actually couldn't speak even in front of my class in school. I was afraid of being called by the teacher, even though I might have known the answer to the questions. I was dreading being called because I was worried I was going to say the wrong thing and people would make fun of me. And the same was true with social events. I was very shy. I couldn't really go and talk to anybody unless I already knew them before. In sports, I was okay if I was playing in a group, but if I had to do something that I was the center of attention, like kicking a penalty kick, I would not do it, or I would never volunteer to doing it. Because again, I was afraid of making mistakes and people laughing at me. So started working, and I pour myself into work. I felt that whatever was going on, I just needed to focus on work and work as many hours as I could, so I would be successful and would grow in my career. I was going to make more money, and that would make me happy. And I continue doing that for many years since I started after finishing school. I actually, when I was working in Canada, there was a week that I worked 100 hours. And I actually worked probably 4 years in the first 3 years that I was with the company, just because I wanted to grow fast and do more. And people thought that that was ambition, but it was definitely not healthy for myself. And then the family started growing, and I continue spending a lot of time at work. And I thought that the best thing I could do for the family was to make more money, to get them more things, and then everybody would be happy. But I know now that that was never true. And I was actually missing out on several important things in the children's lives. So in 2018, when I was in a big down time, I was feeling really bad about everything. I decided to talk to someone because my son was going to be born, and I was talking to my wife, and we agreed that I should talk to someone. So I talked to a therapist, and it didn't take her long. I talked to her a week before my son was born, and it didn't take her long to say that I was suffering with depression and anxiety. And the more we talked, and I started then doing some reading and learning more about it, and I felt that yes, that explained a lot of the things that I felt throughout my life up to that point. So I started reading more about both conditions, and if you don't know, some of you might already know, but if you don't, depression affects how you feel and act. It makes you feel kind of hopeless and helpless at points, and anxiety is that constant feeling of worry, and that's something that I definitely had growing up. I was always imagining the worst possible outcome for anything, including when my wife and kids were taking a little bit longer to come back from school. I would imagine that they had an accident. It was to that point. So what are some of the symptoms? And I marked this because these are the ones that I was actually feeling. And there are more that represent depression and anxiety, and there are different levels. But these are definitely some that I felt like feeling sad or down, having this sense of danger or panic, being tired or with low energy, feeling of helplessness and hopelessness, as I said, heart rate when I was feeling anxiety, and nervous, restless, or tense. I was ruminating past events I couldn't let go. Suicide is something that, especially when I was a teenager, I thought about. I mostly in the sense of, would actually people come and would people actually cry if I was gone? So what causes it? It's not clear exactly what causes it, but it could be a variety of factors, and they are kind of divided into 3 buckets. There are individual attributes, so people with low self-esteem, which was definitely the case, or have difficult communicating, or that have medical illness, which was not my case. Could be environmental factors. So if you have poor access to basic services, if you suffer from injustice and discrimination, if you're exposed to traumatic events like war or disaster, or it could be social circumstances, like if you are feeling loneliness, or if you suffered a loss of someone you loved, if you were exposed to violence or abuse, living in a condition of low income and poverty, work stress and unemployment. So those can also cause depression or anxiety or other mental health disorders. So what can you do when you're feeling that way? And these are things that helped me, especially right after I learned about my condition. Some strategies, there are more, but I'll share some of them. Therapy, something that was definitely helpful, having someone to talk to that understands what you're going through, that knows what to recommend, that has the tools to help, was definitely something that I would recommend, and it helped me in the beginning. I'm not doing anymore since I moved to Germany, but I'm considering going back to it. Having social support, and that's the support of people that bring you up. I know that sometimes when you're feeling depressed, you kind of tend to engage in more negative conversations, and then people that are also negative seem to be the ones that you are drawn to. It's good to avoid those people that bring you down. It's okay to take some alone time, but it's important to also find balance and don't isolate, especially in a year like this year that has been difficult for so many people, especially people that are living alone and not having contact with others. It's good to make an effort and try to reach out. Meditating is something that I started doing into 2018. I started practicing mindfulness. There are other forms of meditation as well, like yoga as well, that combines exercise with meditation. But meditating can lower your stress and can make you more aware of the thoughts that you're having, especially the negative ones. And it can help the brain kind of handle strong emotions better. And that has definitely helped me. Exercising is something I wish I was doing more of, but it boosts the feel-good chemicals, the endorphins, and it also has proven to have long-term benefits for people with depression. It also encourages the brain to rewire itself in positive ways. Getting a good night's sleep, it's important. So having a routine, going to bed at the same time, having not getting this, not having devices during bedtime. Being grateful is something that is been proven to be good as well, to train the brain to look at the positives and not focus on the negatives. Trying to have fun. It's hard sometimes when you're feeling down, but doing things that you enjoy do help with boosting your mood. And medication can also help, especially if you're feeling really drowning like I was. I couldn't, with the other techniques in the beginning, I tried to go without medication for a while because I didn't feel like I should be. But after a few months of trying and not improving, my doctor and my therapist decided that the best would be to start at least to get my better, and then I could stop eventually. And I was planning on slowly stopping in 2020, but 2020 hasn't been a really good year for that. So that's my plan for 2021. And of course, remember to breathe. That's really important. It's something that we take for granted sometimes. Sometimes when you're feeling in the middle of it all, just stopping and taking some deep breaths really puts things into perspective. All right, so moving on to the next part, talking more about mental health in the workplace and how it affects people. You can see that there is a big portion of the population, and I have these charts here mostly focused on Europe, but it's across the world that people suffering from mental health and substance use disorders or anxiety and depression. This is data from 2017. And you have about 6% in some places of people suffering from one of them. And then the biggest one in the Western Europe, at least, seems to be anxiety disorders with 5.7%, with depression falling right after. So that I got some different infographics from different countries that show the impact it has in the economy, in the how productive a person can be, and how it impacts companies as well. So in the UK, for example, 44% of the work-related stress, depression, or anxiety are caused by the workload. And in Canada, 500,000 employees are off each any given week, because of depression or anxiety. Like in Australia, it costs businesses $10.9 billion a year. And the US, there are 200 million working days lost due to depression. So there is some studies that indicated a 5% improvement in the health of people actually could save the European Union 180 billion euros a year. And overall, mental health disorders are responsible for 1.2 75 trillion euros in productive losses every year, and that's due to people being either absent from work or being at work but not being able to do their jobs because they can't be productive. Actually, the disorders that are not recognized and do not result in a sickness absence are even cost even more than those days lost if people were to take the time off to recover. And the US also, there was a study that every $1 put into treatment for common mental disorders, there was a return of $4 in improved health and productivity. So it's definitely worth for companies to pay attention to it. As it said before, there's no health without mental health, and there can be a significant impact in how companies do. So because of the impact it has in Canada, there was a national standard established by the Mental Health Commission of Canada in 2013, which was the first of its kind. And it described some voluntary guidelines that companies could use to promote mental health and prevent psychological harm at work. And they focused on the 13 factors that affect mental health in the workplace. So they described those 13 as, like, the first one would be our organizational culture. So these organizations that have positive culture, the employees would say something like, I feel that I'm part of a community at work. Employees and managers trust one another. Organizational values are demonstrated at all levels, and my workplace is inclusive of persons with diverse backgrounds. Clear leadership and expectations. So employees would say, if they were in a place with positive, clear leadership and expectations, they would say that they know what they're expected to do, that they are informed about changes at work in a timely manner, that the difficult situations at work are addressed effectively. Respect, and that's people treat each other with respect and consideration. The workplace handles conflict among employees effectively. People with different backgrounds are treated fairly. Those are some of the questions that people would say they would state if they were in a positive environment. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's going to take a while, but you can see that, like, growth and development is important. People receiving feedback, the supervisor providing helpful feedback about performance, open to ideas, the sense of being heard, being recognized and rewarded for the work that is done, paid fairly, is important. The organization celebrates and shares the accomplishments. Having support, psychological support, offering the benefits and supporting employees if they notice they are distressed. Allowing employees to be involved and have influence. So have some sort of control over how the work is organized. My opinions and suggestions are considered at work. That's important for people as well. And workload management is, am I doing the work that I expected to do is reasonable for my position? So these 13 factors are taken into account, and then there is an implementation toolkit that companies can download. It's a free toolkit, and companies anywhere in the world can download and look at how they can add, if they already do something, how they can continue to add, and how they can make the environment a better environment, workplace environment for their employees. And here are some examples that I found of companies that are implementing some strategies that they see the positive of doing so, and the positive effect that it has. So Microsoft, something that started organically with leaders sharing their own personal struggles, became Microsoft Cares. There are other things associated with it as well. At Johnson & Johnson, they not only give the benefits to the employee, but also to their family members, because they understand how important it is for a healthy employee to have a healthy family as well. At Bell in Canada, they have a big program. It's a Let's Talk Day, where I encourage people to speak up about mental health to try to break this stigma. And they have donated more than $100 million to initiatives across Canada. And SAP is providing mindfulness training for all their employees, and they noticed that employees do take some of those after to work to better handle conflicts and be more productive. Barclays, they created the "This Is Me" campaign for the employees to share their stories, and that creates a community and makes people open up and realize they are not alone and have help. And some of the services are also available for their customers. And Unilever, they have done in-person workshops on mindfulness, and they train their managers as well on mental health. They say if you want a high-performing company, you need resilient, healthy employees. At Virgin, they give the employees stress coping strategies, and all managers are trained on how to support the colleagues in need. And finally, at Ernst & Young, they created the Are You OK campaign in 2016 to increase the discussion around mental health and provide more services to their employees. So these are some examples. There are 100 more of companies, and several of these strategies here are also used at 1X Internet to make sure that we have a healthy work environment. Finally, I just wanted to say that back in 2018, when I was diagnosed, I was unsure if I should share or not, but I decided to do so. So I opened up on LinkedIn, I shared my story, and then I did the same internally on our Slack. And I can say that the responses from the team were really positive. It was surprising to me to see how many people were either suffering from something similar themselves and didn't know who to talk or didn't feel like they should share. And others had family members or people that went through it, and they felt it was good to have someone to talk to. I also had people that didn't publicly admit that they were going through things, but they came privately and they wanted to talk about their experiences, and also asked me to share some of my own experiences and how things that worked for me. So it was good to create this environment where it was okay to talk about it, and it was received really well. So I know that it's not all companies that have this openness, and I know people are still afraid of being labeled, but I do hope that starting the discussion helps, and that more and more people open up about it, because it's an important topic. It does affect a lot of people worldwide, and it's something that we should definitely pay attention to. So that's it. I like this sentence from Dr. Seuss. It says, "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind." So that's how I'm now living my life. Before I was afraid of saying something that people wouldn't like, but it is what it is. Of course, you have to be respectful and conscious about what you're saying, but it's good to open up. And if you want to connect, here are my details, and you can send me an email or connect on LinkedIn or Twitter. You can also come to our booth, and I would be glad to continue the conversation.
Do you want to? Thank you so much for doing this. We have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is from Tomasz, and his question is: do you have good examples how your family, especially your wife, was able to help you get better? So how did the family?
My wife was, I think, my rock, because when I was feeling on my worst moments, she was always there. She was taking care of the kids. She was understanding when I needed my time alone, but she was also supporting me when I wanted to talk and open up. I could talk to her. She was supportive when I said that I wanted to go for therapy as well. And yeah, she has been there as a friend, as someone that if I needed to go and do my meditation, she would just say, go, I'll take care of the kids. It has been really important for me to get better having her support. I also had support from my mom and my sister that I talked to. They are still in Brazil, but I talk them on the phone and WhatsApp and Skype, and it's easier these days. And having someone to talk to is really helps.
Thank you. The next question is what you are particularly practicing at 1x Internet to help people with their mental health.
There are several things that I mentioned before. I think the cultural, we have an open, transparent discussion. I think both all three founders of the company, Buddy, Christoph, and Stefan, are always open to having people come and talk to them in person if they don't feel like talking in public about what they are going through. They also like to discuss their own struggles if you are talking to them, which makes it's easier for people to open up if they see that the leaders are always also doing it. They allow employees to manage their own work as much as possible. They give feedback constantly. They celebrate all the accomplishments of the team. They make everybody feel like they are part of it. They show where the company is going. They share information. They're very transparent and share information about what they are thinking, how projects are doing, and yeah, they are there for everybody that wants to talk. So it creates a positive environment. They realize in the company that employees are their biggest asset, and they focus a lot on making sure that we work well together. They try to resolve conflicts by having open discussions. We have a policy of not having hidden private chats on Slack. We like to have discussions, even if they are difficult discussions, we like to have them in public, like in a project channel or in general channel, so everybody sees what's happening and we all improve together.
Thank you. We have also received a question which I wanted to ask, so it's perfectly worded. You mentioned sleep, meditation, being thankful, and exercise as a tool to get better. What do you think helped you the most?
Well, at first, when I was right in the middle of it and I just got my diagnosis, I tried all of them and I was still not able to get those negative thoughts to go away. So I had to also get on medication just to get kind of started. But then I realized that the other things that were helping me the most were I was kind of riding my bike to places near my house in Canada that had like a lake and a bench. And then I would ride to the middle of this forest and I would sit in the bench and then meditate for 30 minutes, just sitting there, eyes closed, just spending time in nature, like paying attention to the sounds around me. Like that really helped. I think those were the days that I was feeling the best. So I would say meditation and exercise was combination that really helped me.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions. So I guess if someone would like to ask you or talk to you more, then they can join us at the 1X booth.
Definitely, or in private. If people want to talk in private, that's fine too. I know that not everybody wants to open up, and some environments are still not the best for people to open up, and hopefully that changes. But I understand that some places might have some resistance. And I actually had a case of at some time I was talking to a recruiter that told me, why don't you take that post down from LinkedIn? It's like it's showing people that you might not have employees reaching out to you, employers reaching out to you. I said, well, if a company doesn't like that, then I don't want to work for them anyway. So
thank you.
Yeah, so here are the dates for the contribution Friday. There is the contribution happening at the contribution day on the 11th. And I think there is, I'm not sure if this link is the right one, but if you want to give feedback to the session, I hope it was helpful. I know I'm not a specialist, but I hope talking about it helps. And I will continue doing these sessions probably going forward if they are helpful. So thank you everyone for attending.